If you learn this one strategy, your home will finally stay clean. Now, maybe you have decluttered the same spaces over and over and you feel like your home still feels like it resets itself overnight. That's not a willpower problem. I actually spent years watching that pattern in patients and families, and honestly, in my own home, plus with people in my community here. And what I found was always the same thing, not a lack of effort, but a missing system. One specific system that nobody talks about. And once you understand it, everything changes. Hey, I'm Robyn, and as a retired ER nurse, I have learned that when lives are on the line, you don't just start treating symptoms randomly. You follow a protocol, you triage, you prioritize, and you work systematically. And after years of watching people struggle with homes that stress them out instead of supporting them, I realized we need the same systematic approach for our living spaces. So I invented it. But before I do that, it's really important that I tell you what is wrong with most cleaning advice. Now, most of us fail because we jump straight into organizing our clutter instead of dealing with the real problem. We simply have too much stuff. We buy bins and baskets and labels for things that we don't actually need or use. We create elaborate storage systems for our indecision. And it's like trying to organize an overflowing closet by buying better hangers. The hangers aren't the problem. And how many times have I seen people buying a bunch of those thin hangers thinking this will be the solution? The problem is that you have more clothes than your poor little closet can reasonably hold. That poor thing is bursting at the seams. And so instead of addressing the excess, we just convince ourselves that anything else will help. Most of us approach our homes like we're playing Tetris with our belongings. We're off constantly trying to fit more and more stuff into the same amount of space. Moving things around, reorganizing, buying more storage solutions. But here's the thing, the game is rigged because we never reduce the number of pieces we're trying to fit. The overwhelm happens because we're treating symptoms instead of causes. We're organizing clutter instead of reducing it. We're creating systems for stuff that shouldn't be in our homes in the first place. Now, we're wondering why nothing ever stays clean for more than 5 minutes. Here's what you can do. So that's why I created the Mighty Method. It's a 4-stage systematic approach that actually addresses the root causes of why homes become chaotic and stay that way. And it's not about buying more organizing products or finding more motivation. It's about creating homes that will support your well-being instead of draining your energy. This isn't about extreme minimalism or having a perfect house. It's about creating a home that works for your actual life, not some fantasy version of who you think you should be. So step 1 is triage, which you've probably never heard before. And this is where often people go completely wrong because most people start decluttering in random spots. They tackle the storage room even though they have been struggling to cope in their kitchen every single day, multiple times a day. They organize their garage while their bedroom is so chaotic they can't find clean clothes, and it is one of the more stressful spots in the house where they should actually be feeling the most relaxed. They deep clean the guest room that nobody uses while their daily living spaces are driving them up the wall. Now, this gets worse because often we avoid the areas that are actually impacting our daily lives. And we tell ourselves, we'll start with something easy to build momentum. But really, we're just procrastinating on the spaces that matter the most because they feel overwhelming. And that makes perfect sense. But here's what we do instead. The solution is to triage like we do in healthcare. In the ER, we don't treat people in the order that they arrive. We treat them based on who needs help the most urgently. And your home needs the same approach. Here's how to triage your home. Look around, and I want you to identify the areas that are stressing you out the most and the spaces that you use the most. What spaces are getting in your way? What areas make you feel frustrated or defeated when you look at them? What clutter is creating daily friction in your life? Now, for most people, the answer is not the basement or it's the spare closet, even though those areas might annoy you when you go there, but often it's the kitchen counters, it's the bedroom surfaces, or the entryway. The spaces that you use every single day, but you can't function in properly because they're overwhelming you with stuff. Once you've identified your priority area, I want you to ask yourself why it's like this. What are you doing that makes this worse? What are others doing? What stuff accumulates here that doesn't belong? And this is not about blame. The whole point is just to understand the root cause of why it's like that, so you can prevent it from happening again. And then you think of what it would be like when it's done. What do you want to see when you go into that space? What do you not want to see? How do you want it to feel? See, it's super easy. Now here's actually where most organizing advice gets it completely backwards. We try to organize our clutter instead of reducing it. We buy storage solutions for stuff that we don't actually need. We create elaborate storage systems for things that should probably just leave our homes entirely. We actually create storage for our storage. The problem is that we approach decluttering like we are curating a museum. We pick up each item and we have a deep philosophical discussion with ourselves about whether it sparks joy or it might be useful someday. Meanwhile, we are drowning in stuff that is actually preventing us from enjoying our lives. And this gets worse when we keep things out of guilt or obligation or fantasy thinking. Did you plan on starting your painting hobby, or has your paint dried up like 5 years ago? Because mine did. We keep clothes that don't fit because we might lose weight. Meanwhile, going into our closets, it just stresses us out and makes us feel bad. We keep kitchen gadgets that we would never use because we might start cooking more. Maybe you're gonna take like an Italian cooking class. Are you planning on a trip to Italy? I don't know. Meanwhile, then it makes it hard to open up the drawers in the kitchen and to do the actual cooking because there is stuff in the way. We also keep books we'll never read again because we feel guilty getting rid of the books. If you have a room that is a personal library in your house, sure, keep it. Otherwise, we are literally having boxes of books that we're never reading again, just like some kind of weird library of our past. We keep gifts that we don't like because someone gave them to us. Do you want somebody to keep the gifts that you gave them just because you gave it to them, even if they don't like it? I don't think you do. The solution is to be honestly ruthless about your actual life, not your aspirational life. In your priority area, everything needs to earn its place and be really genuinely useful, not just potentially useful. Here's the decision framework that makes this easier. If you haven't used it in the past year, or it's not seasonal or truly sentimental, it goes. If it's broken and you haven't fixed it in 6 months, it goes. And you might be like, okay, I'll fix it today. Then you better fix it today. If you have multiples and you only need one, the extras have to go. If you bought it for a fantasy version of yourself that never materialized, it goes. Be especially honest about duplicates and the just in case items. Now, I had a penny for every time someone was like, I'm just afraid I would need it one day. And I completely understand. But let me tell you, you are drowning in just in case items. You are trying to walk through a sea of items that are just throwing themselves at you, getting in your way. You don't need 11 spatulas, 3 can openers, or backup items for things that rarely break. You don't need to keep every container that might be useful for storage someday. My mom, she would keep old yogurt containers, even though she had Tupperware. Has anybody else done that? Has anybody else's mom do that? You let me know. One of the things I like to say, and this is called the 20-20 rule. If you can replace it for less than $20 in less than 20 minutes, do it. And I know people are like, well, if you're rich, no. The point is that you probably won't be replacing it. So think about it that way. Oh, and you don't need to save every piece of clothing that might fit again eventually. Unless you are actively losing weight, let it go. The goal isn't to get rid of everything you own. It's just to keep only what serves your current life and let go of what is just taking up space and mental energy. Only after you've simplified should you organize what's left. And this is where you create homes for the things that you've decided to keep, and you make those homes as functional and accessible as possible. So for nerds like me, this is the fun part. Now, the problem that most people have is that they try to organize before they simplify. So they buy bins and baskets and dividers for stuff that they don't actually need, and they just start stuffing everything in. And then they wonder why their organizational systems don't work or why they can't maintain them. This actually gets worse when we don't think about how we actually use things. We store items based on where we think they should go and not where we actually use them. We create systems that look good, but they don't function well for our daily routines. Now, the solution is to organize based on function, not on appearance. Everything you have decided to keep needs a specific home, and not just a general area like the kitchen, but a specific drawer, a shelf, or a container where it lives when it's not being used. It's like Dana K. White says, where would I look for this thing? That it should make sense where it goes. We want to group like items together. All the batteries in one place, all the cleaning supplies in one area, all of the office supplies in one drawer. And this prevents you from buying duplicates because you can't find what you already have. Has anybody else been there, or is it just me? Make sure that the homes that you create make sense for how you actually use things. If you always take your vitamins in the kitchen, don't store them in the bathroom medicine cabinet. If you always make tea by your kettle, don't keep your tea across the room. Create spaces near the point of performance so things can live with you instead of fighting against your natural habits. The key is to make putting things away as easy and as taking them out, and making it so that it just naturally flows and it's easy to keep your place clean. If it's complicated or inconvenient to return something to its home, it's not going to happen consistently. And then, you know what? You need to build habits and rhythms that help your home stay manageable long term. This is where you create routines that prevent clutter from accumulating again and maintain the systems that you have created. Because the problem is so many of us rely on motivation instead of systems. And I just need to take a moment here because I have been ragging on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It is great when it shows up. So much can be done when we harness motivation. But when it goes, because it's gonna go, she's a lady that likes to travel, then we are going to have to rely on our systems. So people will perfectly organize everything and then they just think, hey, my willpower is gonna keep it that way. But again, motivation, she wants to travel. She's a free spirit. Life gets busy, you get tired, and suddenly everything is a mess again. And this actually gets worse when we try to maintain our homes through weekend cleaning marathons. So often we'll just come home and just set stuff down, or we'll just like I am like so guilty of this sometimes, okay? So I'm with you. But we just assume that we're going to do it later. Don't put it down. Put it away, because we will let things pile up all week and then we spend Saturday morning in a cleaning frenzy, or we don't and it just gets worse again. We're feeling resentful and we're feeling overwhelmed, and by Tuesday everything's chaotic again and we feel like failures. The solution is easy. We're just building maintenance into the daily routine. It takes a little bit of thought, which I know does stress our brains out because our brains just want to go on autopilot. We're gonna do just a little bit of planning, because the people with consistently clean homes, they don't spend more time cleaning. They don't. They spend less time because they prevent messes from accumulating in the first place. So we want to create a simple daily reset. Spend 10 to 15 minutes each evening putting things back where they belong. And it's not about deep cleaning or perfection. It's about maintenance, like brushing your teeth. You don't wait until your mouth feels super gross. I also do it in the morning because I have teenagers who roam around at night and make things messy. So evening and morning, easy peasy. I also think it's great to build in regular decluttering habits. Set a timer for 10 minutes once a week and walk through your priority area looking for things that you have accumulated that don't belong. And you can do this in subsequent areas. Deal with mail immediately instead of letting it pile up. Put clothes away when you take them off instead of draping them over the chairs. The goal is to make maintaining your home feel automatic and not like a constant battle against chaos. The reason this system works is because I've seen it transform homes and reduce stress for so many people. But I also know that having it written down and a step-by-step guide makes all the difference between understanding a concept and actually implementing it successfully and not forgetting it in about 5 minutes. And that's actually why I created the Mighty Blueprint. You can download it because it walks you through each stage with specific checklists, room by room guides, and troubleshooting tips for when real life gets in the way. So you can download that here at minimalisthome.ca/blueprint. And it will be delivered straight to your inbox. I will also link it below. And it's free, and it includes everything you need to implement this system in your home, no matter what your starting point looks like. The reason the Mighty Method works is because it addresses the real reason why homes become chaotic and stay that way. Most organizing advice, it skips the crucial first steps of the assessment and the reduction. And then they jump straight into storage solutions and just trying to organize everything without dealing with the underlying problems of having too much stuff. What I love about my method is it also shows that maintaining a home, it's not about perfection or having a magazine-worthy space, more like Instagram-worthy, but whatever. It's about creating an environment that supports your daily life instead of fighting against it. You don't need to become a minimalist or give up everything you love. Hey, I'm minimalist light. I have the stuff that I have hobbies. I am a gardener. I love to cook. I love to bake. So I have a little bit of extra stuff for those things. But other than that, I have nothing extra. You just need to be honest about what is actually serving your life or what is just taking up space and mental energy. You need systems that work with your habits and not against them. And you need routines that prevent problems instead of just treating the systems. Your home should be your medicine. It should give you energy. You should get home and be like, it shouldn't be draining you. It should be a place where you can find what you need, where you can relax, recharge, where you can function without constantly fighting against clutter and chaos. The Mighty Method helps you create that kind of home. The reason this method works is because it helps you create that kind of home. Start with triage today. Look around. Identify the one area that is causing you the most daily stress. That is where you begin, not with the area that looks the worst or the area that you think you should tackle first, but the area that's actually impacting your life every single day. The area that when you walk by, you can celebrate and be like, look what I did. You're inviting people in off the street and you're like, look at my space. But you know those people, I do have a question though. You know those people whose home is always clean? You could surprise visit them. You could run through their house. You could go through their kitchen. You could go through their bedrooms. You could open up their closets, their bathrooms. It would be spotless. Well, the psychology behind daily cleaners is fascinating, and you can actually rewire your brain to become one of them. In this video here, I broke down the research on what makes daily cleaners different and shocking mental and physical health benefits of maintaining a clean home every day, and how to develop these habits even if you are messy. I hope something great happens for you today. Please like, subscribe, give us a hype. Stay tiny and mighty. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.